Hey, Cleaning Nation, Mike Campion here with Suzanne Bandick. Today, we are going to talk about business owners' secret weapon. And this weapon is one of those fancy swords that cuts both ways. Very sharp. It can cut things that you don't want in your way, and boy, oh boy, can it stab you right in the face. So today, I say we, but Suzanne's going to talk about, and I'm going to heckle, are going to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves and the reality that we always tell ourselves stories. Some serve us, some do not, but there is very little neutrality. We're either telling ourselves stories that I'm dumb, or this is never going to work, or that guy's smarter, or has a better opportunity, or I'm great, I'm perfectly, and this is right where I should be, and it's all going to work out fantastically. So we're going to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves, how to identify them, and when they don't work for us, how to challenge them, which, believe it or not, they're always these paper goddamn castles that you just touch it and you're like, that was never true in the first place. I just made it look like a big, strong stone castle. And the closer you get, you're like, hey, you're not even real. And then probably most importantly, how to rewrite them, right? It's not, many of you guys have heard, I've not done this, but I've heard it's real hard to quit smoking. You don't want to quit smoking. You want to replace it with a more healthy habit. So we don't want to just, the goal is not to be like, that's a bad story. We're just going to have like a dull buzz in our brain, but we want to replace it with a story that's going to be more effective. All right. I don't know how helpful that introduction was, Suzanne, but the message is yours now, lady. Let's party.
That was a great intro, Mike. Thanks. You got a great
See?
understanding of this.
I was telling the story of, I don't know, I talked too much. It sounded sloppy. Suzanne's like, that's not going to serve any of our listeners or me. It was a great intro. Let's rock.
Right. Okay. So the stories that we tell ourselves are basically the things that we keep repeating to ourselves. And they're based on our past, or they're based on a future that we're creating.
Say that again.
And
That's really important.
our stories are based on our past or a future that we are creating.
So typically memories that we're choosing to bring up or a future that we're choosing to picture. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, a creation of the future. Exactly. So those stories are affecting our current lives. They're affecting our businesses, and they're affecting the outcomes of everything we do.
Hmm.
So my encouragement right now is that we look at the stories and the things that we repeat to ourselves. So I got four little strategies here to work with the stories. So first is to identify the story. Now, we need to pay attention to what we're repeating to ourselves to find the story. So, for instance, you might say, this happened before, so it will happen again.
Yes.
Okay, nobody showed up to my interview, so it turns out my interviews don't work. Nobody ever shows up. I'm doing it wrong. That becomes a story based on what? One time?
Let me make it even, I don't say harder, but more. Everyone looks at that and goes, oh, that's ridiculous. No one believes that. All right, let me give you a story that people do believe. I spent $311 on a Facebook ad over a week and a half, and I didn't get anything. Therefore, Facebook ads don't work. Right. So it's not like I spent $1 in 1 second like that. We kind of, or I did 3 interviews and only one person showed up and he stunk. Therefore, my interview process is no good. Um, I had 2 or 3 people quit, either clients or employees. Therefore, my whole world is shocked.
You see how easy it is to get caught in a story that doesn't serve us? And it's a creation. It's simply a creation. So it's based on it happened before, it will again. I expect this because this, right? Fill in the blanks. I
I would,
expect my employees, I really have trouble training them, right? This is what I expect because, oh, they're never any good.
so for those of you guys that ever played this, if you haven't played this game, it's a ton of fun. we should play this at an event. Two truths and a lie. When you're trying to, it's a great way to get to know somebody, right? So Suzanne will be like, I was a ballerina, I'm married to a handsome man, and I was a weightlifting champion in high school. And two of those are true, one's a lie. And we get to guess, and it's a lot of fun, right? Because you want to think of the extraordinary truth, and then yeah, so it's a lot of fun. But it can be insidious on this. If we just said something like Facebook ads don't work, most people are going to go, well, gosh, it's kind of a multi-billion-dollar company. It'd be shocking that they didn't work at all. So we're like, all right, no one's going to believe that crap. So I'll put it. Suzanne did one truth, but it's typically two truths. So I did Facebook ads, true, and I didn't get any results. Squishy truth, because you're not defining results. Did you get no leads? Did you like there's no definitions there, but we're going to take it as a truth because you get to define what results are. Therefore, Facebook ads don't work. And it's insidious because if we just start with a lie, we can see it right away. We're like, oh, that's not the truth. Like it's obvious. So we play the ugly game of two truths and a lie, where I say two things that are true. I've been in this business for 10 years, and the whole thing's been a struggle. Two truths, right? I've been in 10 years. So it's just never going to work. I had two people tell me that they have to have full-time hours. And one guy quit because he said that he's not getting enough hours. Therefore, I must pay every cleaner from now on 40 hours a week. Like the truth gets you. So anyway, just wanted to give you that two truths and a lie. It's easy to remember.
I love it. Also, remember that as we're creating that truth, right? We'll fight hard for that truth, even though maybe that truth doesn't serve us.
So how do you, and I'm going to pick on this one because for me, like knowing is half the battle. I really do find this is probably my biggest struggle. Once I get, and I'm sure I don't want to make it all about me, but I'm sure there's some subset of the listeners that are like, this all makes sense. Once I identify the bad story, I'm pretty good. And that's one of the things I love about you, Suzanne. I think I'm pretty good at this. She has no fear. I'll say something dumb or have some weird story, and she'll, in a very way, like very judo, like I don't even know what happened. And she'll turn me around. I'm like, yeah, that was dumb. So how do you catch it? Because I think that's the insidious part. For those of us, not all of us, but those of us are like, I'm good at switching it when I get it, but I'm not good at getting it.
Right. And that's the identifying it role. Okay. So we have to say, wait a minute. This is what I'm thinking. This is what's happening. Do I like it?
So is
And
there a feeling or a trigger that we can kind of tune ourselves to?
I, that's a great question. I believe that it's asking the question.
Okay, so it's just a matter of building a habit of good story, bad story. We're not even looking for bad stories. We're just going to ask the question a lot.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead.
No, I'm absorbing because what you're saying, great. So it's just a matter of we're going to ask the question all the time, intentionally for days or
Yes.
weeks, probably not months,
Yes.
until it becomes a natural
Well,
thing.
it's probably an ongoing thing. You think I'm pretty good at this. And I've caught myself third time saying it to someone. I went, wait a minute, that's a story.
Another reason coaching is great, by the way, because half the coaching is self. I have a dumb thought in my head and it's safe in there. And I say to Suzanne as I'm saying, I'm like, boy, that sounds kind of like, I think that's dumb. And then if I'm speaking to someone like Suzanne, if I don't catch it, girlfriend's going to catch it and go, hold on. I don't think that's the truth.
Right. So it's to be aware. Now, let's look at the stories we tell ourselves. Sometimes they serve us.
So
And
real
then,
quick, just because I really want to hit this on the
Mhm.
identifying it piece, just know I'm probably
Right.
going to have to ask that question a lot and it's not going to come naturally at first. And even when it does come naturally, I'm still going to have to consistently ask it. To me, that's the hard version, which still needs to be done. The easy version is hang out with better people. Like if all I did was spend time with people the caliber of Suzanne, I shouldn't say better people, hang out with people that align with you and want what's best and can help you point out those stories for you. So to me, that's the cheat code. Like you got to do the internal work. But if all I did is hang around with Suzanne level people, they trade me quick.
I'm going to reverse this for a minute, though. Be
Okay.
very careful if you hear someone else saying a story, and identifying that and telling them
Oof.
you're okay. Not everybody wants that direction.
And again, if you are going to correct, like you said, Suzanne, it's a different podcast. We're not going to get into it, but identify if it's appropriate. A lot of time my wife says stuff that I think is ridiculous. And who better than me than to settle her hash? And I'm 100% wrong. So just shut my mouth and smile. So one, make sure the timing's, everyone doesn't need to know everything.
Exactly.
And then
Just a
B,
little side note because Suzanne's been through this, okay?
well, and B, that's where I want to talk about you. And then we'll move on because it's a whole other podcast. If you're gonna do it, be good at it. Like one of the things I love about you, Suzanne, is I've never felt judged or you don't. I can be defensive just like every other human. You don't tend to elicit that response. So we won't get into it because that's a big skill that if we could
Thanks.
just tell you, oh, here's how to do that, we would. But if you're not able to do it in a way that doesn't bring up a negative response, consider holding back. All right, back to our
Back to
regularly
us.
scheduled programming.
Right, right. Okay, so identify. You might want to write it down on a piece of paper near your desk and just periodically ask yourself, what am I thinking? What's the story I'm currently saying? You could put it in your phone, set a little ringtone reminder periodically through the day and say, hey, what's my thought? What's my story going on in my head? Does it serve
And
me?
the third thing I got from your kind of not negative comment, but your comment on, hey, don't always feel like you got to do that. Give permission to the people that you trust in your life to do that. So like
Yes.
Suzanne, I think knows she has free license. And I'm telling you right now, girl, like anytime you see me making a story and helping, I respect you and love to hear it. So yeah, that's a really good point. Just hanging around people isn't going to fix it because they're either people that you don't want their opinion and that's just going to upset you when they give it, or people that you do who are typically going to be sophisticated enough to go, well, I'm not going to give it unless you ask. So not only hang out with people that are going to do it, but give them the right people permission that you trust to do it in a way that you can receive.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so let's look at the positive of some stories that may be way out there that may have no truth to them. Okay.
Okay.
I have a couple. Sean, my husband and I have a couple that we've repeated constantly for so many years. It's just a way of thinking, it's a way of our life, and it turns out it's what we receive. And one is we meet the nicest people.
I love, yeah.
Okay, like it's kind of bizarre. Like, would you really? Is everybody nice? Well, we meet the nicest
Statistically,
people,
you have the least blah, 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 blah.
right? Who cares? We created a story that serves us. Another one is everything happens for a reason and it serves us.
And there's like 1,000 things right with this, but I want to just hit one. Everybody knows, I shouldn't say everybody knows, but you probably know that if you decide that you want to buy a Tesla, prior to that decision, maybe you thought there was 1% of Teslas on the road. And then after you decide to buy a Tesla, you're like, I don't know, 43%. All you see is Teslas. Just making the decision, I'd like to buy a Tesla, right? If you want to lose weight, you just weigh yourself every day. Just pay attention to it without making any changes. Generally, you'll lose weight. So even if Suzanne's full of hooey, right? Say this is all just hokum, right? And she doesn't know nothing. And again, the fun thing is I get to talk with her and Sean, and it's nothing but stories of the amazing people that they meet. So I know that this is based in her actual experience, and it's not just hers, millions of people. But let's just say she's full of it, right? She's still going to experience life better because every time, say she meets the exact same amount of great people that I do, if I don't even recognize it, I'm in a foul mood. Suzanne might be a delight, and I may not even tune into it. And maybe my wife and I don't go out with Suzanne and her husband again because we had a foul thing because we didn't even notice and blah, 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 blah. Whereas when she goes, there it is, there's a Tesla, just like I thought, even
Yeah.
if there's no more Teslas on the road than there was before, not only does she recognize it, but then she experiences more Teslas. So again, I think there's science behind that. You actually get definitive results, but even without the definitive results, you still live that life. And why not? What the alternative is everyone I meet's a knucklehead. I promise you, if that's your belief, you will, even when you meet delightful people, you won't even be able to. And guess who won't want to hang out with you? Delightful people. Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here. One of my least favorite things about these podcasts are we found that people love the show and they love the information, but when I talk to you guys in person, stuff doesn't get done. People love the podcast, but they don't take any action. If you'd like to actually implement this and get this done in your world, we have a whole team of people that do exactly that. If you go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, you can book a time with either myself personally or one of our teammates to at least help you come up with a plan to actually implement and change your life. So if you want to go from getting these good ideas in your head to get them in your life, just book a free call with myself or my team, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, and we can go from this one-to-many format to one-to-one and really get you some results. Excited to talk.
So our story changes our reality. by what we focus on.
I would go so far as to say our story, in many circumstances, can change our reality more than goddamn reality. Like it, there's certain things that are non-negotiable, but they talk about in, I mean, without getting dark, in concentration camps or POWs, the story that they told themselves determined life and death. Some people, these are there's three camps. Some were like, we're never going to get out of here, and they died. Some were constantly thinking, it's going to be this week, it's going to be next week. They died. The people that told the stories of, it's going to be a minute, we will get out, and probably not soon. In their literal reality, they all were going to get out at the exact same time, but they changed their reality just with their beliefs. So it is the same reality. Every one of them was in the exact same heck hole that the other guy was in, but the survivors just had a different story.
Powerful. Powerful. Okay, so we now know that we can identify the story. Point number two is we need to challenge the story. So if it serves us, it gets to stay.
Even if it's full of crap, let's swallow it. Why
Exactly.
not?
Who cares? If it's true for us, who
I
cares?
have the belief my wife is the best woman. There's, I don't know, 4 billion women I haven't met. Don't need to. My wife's the best. And Suzanne, I love Suzanne. She didn't even hold a candle to my wife. And Suzanne might make a very good argument like, you don't know me. How dare you? Fine by me. It's just my opinion. I'm sure Sean has a different opinion. He's welcome to it. But that's my opinion. And I'm sure many people could categorically prove me wrong. Fine by me. I've decided my wife's the best. No one holds a candle, and my life's better. My wife's life's better. My son's life's better. There might be other couples that see that and go, and their life might get better.
Yeah. Simply by your belief in that, your marriage is better.
100%. I compare her to
100%.
other women all the time. She wins every time. Never even close. Like, oh, don't compare your wife. Oh, I compare my wife. Oh, she's better looking. She's
Well,
smarter. She's funnier. She wins
you know,
every
I
battle.
I have met and spent time with Natalie. You really are right.
Yeah,
She's
most of the
fantastic.
time, people agree. True story.
True.
Oh,
Okay,
and by
so
the way, I am taking full credit for that with my beliefs. I created that. It's not her, it's me. We just went to a real egotistical place, did we? Sorry, Susanna. I keep sidetracking you, but I'm having so much fun talking with you, girl.
I love your power, Mike.
Please continue.
I love it.
Back to reality.
Okay, so if it doesn't serve us, then we have to ask ourselves questions. Is it really the truth?
Let's go to that because again,
Mhm.
we're kind of on the marriage thing. We're having fun with the positive of
Mhm.
it, but the negative is dark. And I think if we get it from marriage,
Yeah.
obviously it works for bit. So let's say, God forbid, and I've seen this. It's so sad when you see other people see me and see my wife, just like Susanna, and be like, she's amazing. But what if I chose to think the opposite? Because she's not. She's a flawed human, not as flawed as I am, but flawed, right? And I could just as accurately just focus on that. I could compare it differently to other women, and I could have decided and settled in my heart I could do better. She's not for me. I should have done better. I'd be happier if I was with somebody else. Why does she have to make my life miserable? So that story, we probably should, just because I think counseling is great. We haven't been to, you know, but I'm guessing it would just be more unpacking those stories. Like if I had a belief about my wife that was silly, or maybe it was even true, just that like, let's touch it. Is that real? Is that concrete? Is that an actual thing? So let's use that example. Let's say
Right.
I know you're not a counselor, but I come to you with my non-Natalie wife and I'm just convinced what a pig-headed, just it's impossible. How could I possibly be happy with her? How do we test? I mean, it's easy to knock down, but walk us through
Mike, that's a whole nother podcast.
it. I'm trying to get 19 podcasts right into this 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole marriage loop. Um,
Okay.
if we okay, to stay with that again, it's based on the focus,
Okay.
right? And again, the relationships, and let's take it. Okay, relationship within a marriage,
Mhm.
relationship within a family, and
Mhm.
relationships within your business. So you've got employees and clients that you want to have relationships with. Again, are you focused on your stories being ones that serve you? I have the greatest team, right? I mean, do you really, would somebody else, it's the same way you talk about Natalie. Is she really the best wife? Who knows? You believe it. That makes her the best wife. So,
Spoiler alert. I talk about you guys as I say I have the best people, and the best clients. I brag about
yes,
you guys all the time. And shockingly, people go, how do you get such good people? I'm like, I don't know, but they're goddamn amazing, aren't they?
yeah, I do the same thing. So look at what we've created, right? That's the power of checking in on a story that doesn't serve you and challenging it to say, just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it has to be my future.
Let me give one because I've been so abstract and getting off track. Let me give an actual concrete
Really?
result that I think you're like I hadn't noticed. Eye roll. But part of the reason I love Suzanne, she just puts up with my nonsense in a gracious way. So, pardon me. The very concrete example I want to give is when it comes to hiring cleaners, people think it's the hours that we offer, it's the pay that we offer. At that level of job, you can't win on either because they can get a job doing less physical labor for more money tomorrow. So if that's what we're going to compete on, you're just going to lose. There's just quote unquote better jobs, period, end of sentence. What we can compete on is the experience, right? Because if they go to the Gap, I don't know what the Gap pays, but I'm guessing it's physically easier than cleaning, and maybe it pays the same or more, right? Or pick some place they could find that pays $1 more. So you're gonna lose that battle every time. But at the Gap, it's like Steve, your 19-year-old boss, doesn't know anything, and he's just doing everyone's just doing their. And I don't know. I've never worked for the Gap. I'm sure they're lovely people. You could build a team where like we advocate that your team runs the whole hiring process, the hiring, the onboarding. They get a vote and a say in who's on that team. Weekly meetings, monthly parties, quarterly reviews. The experience that you create is wildly different. And it's funny because when people come like, oh, I don't think, Suzanne's going to want to interview. What do I do? And I'd be like, it probably came to, hey, Suzanne, we're all going to try. And I know you're this and blah, blah, blah. And then you get Suzanne going, I don't know. That sounds kind of like the plague. I'd like to opt out. But when I go, Suzanne, I got to be honest, girlfriend, you're a great cleaner and I couldn't appreciate you more. But I think there's so much more to you. I think that my hopes and dreams is that you quit here in 3 to 9 months to get a better job, making more money, where you can really, not that you're not a great cleaner, but you have so much more to offer. And I want to make sure that whether you do that or not, it ain't because I didn't pour into you. So you're a leader, and I'm going to give you authority, and I'm going to have you. And then you get into the hiring process. And when it comes to people like, we need a supervisor. No, you don't. Because what I'm really saying is, hey, Suzanne, you have one job. It's a pretty entry level job, but you're obviously incompetent. So I'm going to pay Steve to watch you do that job and then tell you when you did wrong. Now, perform well. Like, that's insane. If I just tell Suzanne, why would I have a Steve? You're the supervisor. You're going to do a good job, aren't you? Nah, you're going to do a great job. Like, they're going to be so happy because you came. You're not going to F this up. You're fantastic. And she's going, yeah, I am. And guess what? When you do that and you give people that authority, 1 in 23 will stick it to you. They suck and they were always going to suck, and there will be a price to pay. But 22 out of 23 will perform way better than not only did you think they could perform, then they thought they could perform. And it's so much fun. Aside from the benefits, just watching Suzanne be a badass and being really happy when she does quit in 4.5 months for a job that pays twice as much and gives a 2 week notice and blah, not like some weird no call, no show, call in drunk. Like, I'm so excited. I'm going to have more time with my kids and we're going to have a better vacation. It's the best. Okay. I know I went off long, but
did
super
everybody
concrete.
hear? Did everybody hear the beautiful story that Mike just told?
Didn't even mean to.
Right? That's what we're talking about. Exactly. Changes your world, changes your life. I see it every day with our clients. So, ask yourself, am I different now? Do I have different support now? Can it be a different story? Can I simply choose a different story? Why, yes, you can. Thank you for asking. Right? Okay, so we've got identify the story, challenge the story, because so often we just want to fight. It's the truth, Suzanne. You don't understand. It's the truth. And I'm going to say, is it really? So unpack it. Okay. Number 3 is rewriting the story. Now, here you ask, what would I like to repeat? What would I prefer? That's the first question. And then you've got to identify some truths around the new story.
New
Oh,
truths. You got a new story. You need new truths.
right. So here you're going to say, I have the greatest employees, like the story you just told, right? Reality check, just like my everybody's super nice. We meet the nicest people. Is everybody nice? No. Do I meet the nicest people? Yes. So if you change the story from my cleaners are just hopeless and whatever the problem is, and you say, you know what? I'm going to focus on what's great about my cleaners and the team that I want to create. The ones that are not good will fall off. The
So
ones that
true.
are great will stay, and you'll add in more great ones. And before I've seen this happen, before you know it, you're going to have this amazing team built on what? The story you created.
And you'll still get a knucklehead. Only difference is you'll be like, that was weird. Like Suzanne, I'm sure you meet
Exactly.
rude people on the plane or whatever, but you don't go, therefore my whole thing is I guess I don't meet the like you just go, that was weird. Like I see a car that's not a Tesla. I'm like, wow, everything seems to be Tesla. Look at that, non-Tesla. So yeah, don't get mired down into, but my employees suck. Well, then get better employees and be a better boss. Like we can you that's fine. We can move that. Change the story. Sorry. I'm so
Right.
excited about what you're saying. I keep jumping in.
So, number four in creating the new reality is practice telling the new story.
Right.
Ta da!
To whom? Internal, external, both?
Everywhere,
Whoever
anywhere,
will
everywhere.
listen.
To yourself, again, the story that I figured out that I was saying when I should know better, I heard myself repeating it to three people. And when I was on the third person, I was like, wait a minute, I heard myself. So tell yourself the new story and tell others the new story. Everybody that'll listen, tell them the new story.
We're running long because Suzanne can't, rein it in and has to talk too
Yeah,
much. Just
that's
like,
it.
not being so sarcastic because that was the opposite of the truth. Suzanne didn't even call me on my sarcasm. She's like, yeah, sure, I talk too much. Like, okay. Let me just give, again, I'm going to give one more concrete thing to emphasize what Suzanne said, and then we'll wrap. The telling the story, one of the things that we do when we have customer happiness managers working on behalf of our clients is we create a scenario. We give a gift or something before they call, and we call. We don't go, hey, Suzanne, what went wrong? What could we do better? What's bad? Not that we don't want that feedback, but that's how you'd ask it. The people were there yesterday. Did you have the best story? Did you come home and feel amazing? Oh my gosh, I did. And we intentionally ask for reviews and referrals and things like that. And obviously, everyone gets the value of reviews and referrals. But the unintended benefit of that is when Suzanne makes a little 30-second video testimonial or takes a minute to go onto Google and leave a 5-star review going, Mike and his team are the best. And then say we make an honest mistake next week. The likelihood of her quitting, virtually zero. She's going to call me because she told the story out loud. First, she told it to me, and then she told it to herself because she couldn't have told it to me before she created in her brain. And then she told it to the world. So, as opposed to what I might get is, hey, it's too expensive, or we're going to just take a pause, to, hey, Mike, I don't want to complain. And I love you guys. It's because we want to be intentional. So, that telling of the stories is going to create a reality in yourself and in others. All right. Thank you guys, gals, for joining us on this windy road. Suzanne gave a lot of value despite my best efforts to derail her. The last thing I'll give you is what story do you need to change right now? Right. And most of the time, there's something you probably know you need to do. Call a client, get some coaching, have a potentially difficult conversation with a spouse, whatever that may be. And you haven't because the story that you told stops you. Just think about that. Like, I don't want to raise this price on my client. They're going to get really angry. Are they? And if they get angry, they'll quit. Okay. So are they for sure? And if they quit, my business will fail. Two truths and a lie. They may get angry. They may quit. My business will definitely fail. Walk through whatever that thing is and find, it's okay. You might be really committed and have 6 truths and a lie, but suss out that lie and let's pick a story that works. All right, Clean Nation, appreciate you. Thanks for your time and attention. Reach out anytime. We'll talk soon. See you. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it, and we sure appreciate your time and attention.